Cloud. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Podcast on D Shot. This episode will be an NBA playoffs preview, and I got the guy that's hit the best moment in UW-Whitewater men's basketball history. None other than Quardell Young. Q, how have you been doing lately?
Pretty good, man. Can't complain. The best moment in Whitewater history. That's pretty far fetched.
In the basketball history, it'd be you over the Mary Merg buzzer beater game, but the Mary Merg buzzer beater game might be the best ever game in general because of the double buzzer beaters. But I don't know, like, what's your view on that? Like,
Man, it's hard to top two, and I think I feel like Mary's was pretty crazy because I believe one of them was like a jump shot as well, and one was kind of like I think it was like a running floater or something like that. I'm gonna tip my hat off to Mary.
yeah, I was having a debate with Chuck Freeman, who used to be at SSP, about what would I consider my like that best game, because those two are the best games I've ever been to.
Man, some great games. I think I was at that game as well, if I'm not mistaken. It was pretty crazy to say the least.
All right, so let's get to some NBA kind of regular season talk. Like, who surprised you this season, either from a player point of view or a team point of view?
So, from a team point of view, I would have to say I did not see the Knicks or the Hawks making the playoffs. I guess as soon as they did, they both the 4 and 5 seed. They both had a 41 wins and 31 losses. So they kind of turned their seasons around from being, not in the playoffs last season. As far as a player, Julius Randle. I think he's the reason why the Knicks are where they are. He's been averaging some pretty solid numbers this season. I
Wasn't
think
it 24 points per game?
yeah, something like that. I
Something
know
like
he's had
that.
a lot of games with 30 plus and some triple doubles, and I think he should be, in the top four most improved.
Okay, I would definitely go with the Knicks. I was kind of looking up stats since I'm trying to refamiliarize myself with some of the other teams. But that they had like a couple of double-digit scores, but then Julius Randle is just kind of the one that kind of stepped up a little bit. Atlanta, I mean, Trae Young's been kind of an explosive player since he got into the league. So the fact that they kind of took the next step a little bit is another good sign. The other thing I wanted to kind of ask you about was they got this like playing tournament thing. What's your view on that? Do you think that's a good thing for the NBA, or do you think it would be better if you had like these bottom four teams, or maybe closer in standings, unlike the East is with those four?
So I'm looking at it from two different views, I guess. We have the fans' perspective where, we get to see something similar to like a March Madness, a play in, obviously there's the first four in college. And I feel like it's similar to that. So yeah, it's cool because we get some extra basketball and it's actually meaningful. Other than, it's like win or go home for that ninth and 10th spot, and then you also get an opportunity to play for the seventh and eighth seed. So I like it as a fan. As a player, I probably understand why they wouldn't like it, just because it's additional games, rather than the old structure where 1 through 8 is just locked in through the regular season and you just get to playoffs. So I understand why they don't like it, but as a fan, I like it.
I think I like it a little bit, but I'd like to see it where it's like maybe you have those bottom four teams, maybe closer records, because when you look at kind of the East right now, it's like Boston and I think everybody else pretty
Yeah, we had
much.
we had what, Boston and 7, Washington and 8, Indiana at 9, and Charlotte at 10.
Yeah.
So pretty tight race.
But yeah, Wizards, Pacers, and Hornets all have like 34, 33 wins. I'd rather have it be like, at least maybe a little bit closer to what the Celtics record is, even though the Wizards have 34 and the Celtics have 36.
Yeah, it's a tighter race between the 4 seed and I guess the 7 seed this year than normal. Usually it's, maybe 7 to 10 games in between, and the Western Conference is as tight as it is. But it's crazy seeing the play-ins, like Dallas being the 5 seed and the Lakers being the 7 seed. They all had the same record.
Yeah. Let's kind of start with kind of the playoffs in the West. Do you want to go by matchup, or do you want to go like do you want to just go as we like who do you think is going to be the 8 seed? Do you think Golden State's going to be the 8 seed?
So I honestly think Memphis will win that game.
Okay.
Just because I feel like overall as a team, they're better. Curry is obviously going to get his. He's going to go off when they play. But as far as a team, I just feel like Memphis is going to win that game. They're going to be matched up against the Jazz. They're not going to beat the Jazz.
Okay. How far do you have the Lakers going?
I really don't see them losing until maybe, I'd say if any team is to beat them in 7 games, it'd have to be the Clippers.
Okay.
So if the Clippers and Lakers meet in the conference finals, I will take the Clippers.
Okay.
So I'd say conference finals.
Okay. What's your kind of, I guess, thoughts on the West on the other teams?
I do see Utah going to the second round. They're obviously going to beat the 8 seed. I do not see the Suns beating the Lakers. They just have a lot of mismatch problems, and they're not big enough in the paint. Um, Clippers and Dallas. Clippers should win that series. And then we have Denver and Portland. That is going to be a good one. I will go with Portland.
Because Portland's a little bit more of the health. Is the West key of
Yeah.
getting out of the West is just going to be who's going to be the healthiest team at that point? Because obviously the Lakers have had LeBron and AD have been out for during parts of the season. Trying to think of who else you could say that about.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much it's about health. Dallas had their issues with Porzingis. He just came back maybe a week or two ago. Denver lost Jamal Murray with a torn ACL. Utah, Donovan Mitchell's been out for the last 17 games with an ankle. So, you know, Portland, CJ McCollum was out for a portion of the season with a foot injury. So every team in the West, Kawhi was out with a foot or hand, something like that. Patrick Beverly, every team in the West in the playoffs has had some type of adversity to overcome. But who's going to be the healthiest at this point? I think Portland's going to be able to outplay Denver.
Okay, so who do you have coming out of the West? Did you say just Clippers, or what's your gut?
I personally think the Clippers will do it this year. I think they can get out of the West.
Okay.
I think because I think they're all healthy now. Lakers they're struggling. Like they have the best, I guess, team just because they've won it last year, but they're just now meshing together with not being able to play together for so long due to injuries. And Clippers, I just feel like this is their turn. They got a new coach over there. You know, they're playing pretty well. I don't know. I'm not surprised by the Lakers. I know they can turn it on at any time. They have solid players, but I'm just not sure.
I think I'll go with the Clippers. I agree with you. I don't know what to expect out of the Lakers since those two have been out for a lot of the season for some of the season. Let's shift to the East. My overall opinion about the East, I think um my gut kind of says whoever's going to win the NBA Finals is going to come out of the East because I think it's going to be either the 76ers, Nets, or Bucks.
Yeah, I agree. The Sixers have played fantastic this year. I think they've had the best. They were actually the second best home record in the NBA behind the Jazz. And I mean, they've been healthy for the most part as well. Embiid is a MVP candidate. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's hard to count out Brooklyn just because of who they have on their team, and obviously the Bucks as well. They should be able to compete as well. So it's going to be a tight one. I do say the Western Conference is in trouble this year. I think it's coming back to the East this season.
Okay, so let's just kind of go through probably what the matchups would be. Who do you think gets the 8 seed in the East?
So we have what Washington and Indiana playing today for the
I think
eighth
so.
seed.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with Indiana. I think Indiana.
With Malcolm Brogdon. They traded away Oladipo, right?
They did. He is in
Yeah.
Miami.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Indiana tonight. I think they get it done as far as getting the eighth seed, and then they're obviously going to struggle against the 76ers.
Okay.
Just them having home court advantage, them being hot. I think the Sixers are rolling right now. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Philly on that matchup.
Okay. Nets Celtics. I feel like this could be closer than maybe it could be. Maybe this goes to like maybe 6 games. With Brooklyn winning it, but I feel like it could be a little bit closer. I mean, Boston's been good the last couple seasons. Um, but I feel like with those top two teams in the Eastern Conference, I feel like with the 76ers, obviously Embiid and Simmons have injury history. The Nets, it's kind of like Irving, Durant, and Harden haven't played completely together all season. So can they kind of play click together during the playoffs? Um, I guess, but um, Bucks Heat will be an interesting series as well. Obviously, with your boy Duncan Robinson. Um, but I guess I mean you have the upper hand over him. I guess for the Natty. Um,
So just starting with the Brooklyn series, I think it's easier to go with Brooklyn just because they're getting their team back. They're just so offensively talented. Their defense will create easier offense, although they have offensive players that can create their own shots at any time. Playoffs are when these players come alive the most. So I think we're going to see the best brand of basketball that we've seen this season from Brooklyn. And just to go against Boston, they are missing Jaylen Brown this series. Well, this playoffs, he's out for the season with a wrist injury. So them not having him as well will hurt in a 7 game series. If they had him, it'd be a little more competitive and I'd give them a closer chance. But without him, I just don't see them getting it done versus Brooklyn. I say 5 games.
okay. Let's go Bucks Heat. I feel like be interesting to see which Bucks team we get. Are we going to get the team that's been kind of hit with that wall, the wall that everybody kind of gives Giannis in the playoffs, and how do they counter that wall? So you feel like the Heat are going to bring that in the postseason again, in that series again, and maybe some other teams are going to try to do that. But where do you what Bucks team do you think we get in the playoffs? Do you think they can counter that?
So I think we will get the Bucks team that we all are expecting. Last season, we know we ran into the Heat and they were just the total underdogs, and obviously the Bucks overlooked them. It seemed like, and I think this time around they have that in mind. They remember what happened, and they're going to use that towards their advantage to play better this time around. Last time it was a neutral setting, pretty much being in the bubble, but now they're in Milwaukee to start out for the first 2 games at home. I think that helps a lot playing in your own environment. And yeah, I think the Bucks end up winning 6 games.
Okay.
It'll be
Um,
competitive.
I guess how cool is it looking back at that 2014 national title and being able to see a guy that you played against in the NBA?
It's pretty cool. I actually had Duncan on my podcast, and he came on, and we shared some laughs. It was pretty fun. I still talk to him today here and there, and he's having fun with it. I'm proud of his success, as I'm sure he's earned all of it. So it's cool. It's fun seeing him grow from a freshman at Williams to now I want to say third year player in the league. Coming from the route that he came from, it's incredible to watch. Now he's coming off of doubles and triples like Ray Allen and JJ Redick, and teams have to honor that 3-point shot, and that opens up so many other opportunities on offense. So that's cool.
I guess what are some of the other guys from Whitewater? What do they think about that now?
I'm sure they share the same experiences. It was fun playing against him. He was a competitor. When we played against him. I think the game before the national championship against Amherst, he had about 30 points. So he was definitely a player that we were, focused on. And obviously, you can tell he had a lot of potential at that point. And every year, he's just only continued to get better.
Do you ever
So
kind of rub it in with him about that you had the game winner and he kind of had the miss that was tipped in, or
no, I'm not that type of guy, man. I don't rub it in. I mean, we know the history. It happened. It's something that we'll both never forget. But that's the way it goes sometimes. You just you live on with that. You capture those experiences, and you just you cherish it.
all right, let's go with this last series, Knicks and Hawks.
That is a good series. Two teams with the same record. They're pretty similar style, but I think I'm going to go with Atlanta on this one, just
Okay.
because the style of play that Atlanta has, it's a little different than New York's. New York's theirs is, get the ball in Randall's hands, let him create his own shot, let him, take advantage of the defense, the matchups. But I feel like Atlanta's going to draw up some type of scheme to try to get the ball out of his hands. And on offense for Atlanta, they do a lot of high pick and rolls with Trey Young and throw a lot of lobs. They also got some shooters on the wing. So I think just because of that, they'll be able to take advantage of New York.
I was going to kind of say that too. I think I'll say that Bogdanovich, Chris Dunn, Danilo Gallinari is a good 3-point shooter. Hoyter's kind of a good 3-point shooter. So they have some good guys kind of surrounding Young. I'll take Atlanta in that series.
Yeah, so I agree. You hit the spot on. All those guys can shoot it. They shoot it well at a high percentage, and they're not afraid. Like they'll let it ride from anywhere. So with Trey Young being at the top of the 3-point line, getting those high screens from what's the center's name? Clinton Capella.
Capella.
Yeah, Capella. He's getting those high screens. Now the defense has to either get over fast, they have to switch and get a mismatch, or he can drive and throw the lob, drive and kick, and that's where teams get in trouble. So I feel like in the playoffs, we're going to see a lot of that.
All right, so let's go with who do you think is going to come out of the East?
So my heart is saying Philadelphia, but if I were to bet on it, I would say the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay. I I don't know. I mean, I'll go from a obviously I'm a Bucks fan. I hope they do it. I would probably take them over Brooklyn or Philly right now because you don't really because they played together the whole entire season. Even though the Bucks have also had stretches where Giannis and Middleton have been out, but I feel like I'm gonna go with kind of my hometown gut. I'll say Bucks, but you kind of feel like a fool picking your favorite team.
I understand. My gut, being a Wisconsin kid, I wanted to say the Bucks, but I just don't believe it.
Okay.
until Giannis can really knock down that shot consistently and, make 75 plus percent of his free throws consistently, then I'll go with the Bucks. But until then, it's hard for me to choose them over the other two teams, the 1 and the 2 seed.
And they got to figure out how to break that wall.
Yeah, making jump shots. If he can do
Yeah.
that, they won't. They can't sit the wall. But we'll see.
Okay. I guess NBA Finals. What's your like prediction?
So a lot of people are saying, Lakers versus Nets. I like it, but I'm saying the Clippers versus Nets.
Okay. I'm gonna go any of those three Eastern Conference teams against. I'll go to Clippers. I don't think the Lakers get there, but I'd maybe go Nets. I would want the Bucks to be there. But we'll see how they play. Those three play together. Um, and that sort of thing. I guess who would you have as your champ?
That's tough. Um, since I said it's going to the East this year, I'm going to say the Nets.
Okay.
The Nets will get one.
I'll say that too, because I feel like it's gonna be one of the Bills' big three, even though I'm gonna hope it's the Bucks. Let's hit on one other thing because we're sitting here in 2021, and obviously I want to try to do something next year with you and the boys, and Pat. Does it feel like it's almost been 10 years since the 18-point comeback?
Man, it really feels like a blur. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it has. The time flies. We all understand. Time doesn't wait for anyone, and I see like the Facebook memories on a weekly basis or something like that, and it's crazy. I see like 9 years, 10 years, and geez, it seems like yesterday that we were in the tournament.
Yeah. Seems like yesterday that was at Logan's place, and I hate admitting this, but I kind of shut the game off when you guys had the comeback, and then I put it back on, and we were all celebrating St. Patty's Day, and I had my laptop, and everybody's wondering why the hell I had a laptop at a St. Patty's Day party, but then we all shouting like UW chants. So I remember that run a little bit because I kind of jumped on late because it was like what senior day against Oshkosh.
Yeah,
And then like me and my buddy went to all the playoff games, and it was so cool to see Chris Davis hit those threes. And that obviously it was cool to hold the trophy with you twice in college.
yeah, man. I mean, those are the memories that we won't forget, and the experiences that we had the opportunity to be a part of. So it's cool. I'm grateful for all the you know opportunities we had, and the 18-point comebacks, the game-winning layups, just the trials and tribulations, the getting put out in the second round and as a sophomore, getting put out in the first round as a senior. It was all lifelong lessons in between those.
I hated that first round loss. You guys should have won that year.
I agree. We had a probably, I felt like the best chance, but you can't overlook opponents. You got to come to play every day, every night, and that's the March Madness.
I guess which team would you take over the other? Would you take the 2012 team or would you take the 2014 team? I feel like the 2014 team puts more kind of makes kind of the 2012 team more important because if you look at that 2012 team, it was you, Cody, Bryson, Merg, Steve, kind of the guys that kind of eventually became big players on that 2014 were all kind of role players around Chris Davis. So where do you kind of sit on that?
So it's unique just because as I guess the younger class, the freshmen sophomores of that 2012 team, we all had a different role in the 2014 team. So once we got to 2014, we had an older group. We've been there before. We knew what it took to get there and win it all. We had bigger weight on our shoulders because we were the guys that the younger guys looked at like, hey, you guys, you've done it already, so let's ride the coattails and you guys take us. But 2012, we had a smaller role and it seemed more unified. I feel like we had a tighter group as far as on the defensive side. I think our numbers were better that year as far as points allowed. So I'm leaning 2012.
Okay. Best
And
memory of
and and we also had the player of the year, so that's a little different.
yeah. Um, I guess best memory about Lucas Burns or best story.
Oh man, so many memories, stories. I remember, moving into Whitewater the summer before first semester started, and I moved in with Alex Edmonds, and the second person I met on campus was Burns, and I could tell he was just that type of person. Like, he's that floor general, he's that vocal leader. He wasn't the guy that played 35 minutes a game, but he would act like it. He would make sure all his players were taken care of. If you ever needed anything, you could always call him. He was just the guy that had the open hand. And I mean, there's so many stories. I really can't pinpoint one, but it's tough to lose a guy like that.
Let's end it on this. I kind of want to say outside of those two national championship wins, what would be your third favorite UW Whitewater men's basketball game that you played in?
Probably junior year at home.
You're gonna say the Stevens Point game that I have on DVD that I hate putting in.
How'd you know?
I mean, I don't know if you've seen the rebroadcast of that ever.
I think I did take a look at it. I've
Yeah,
seen a couple different ones.
I mean, I was kind of like, you got to be kidding me, Q, my homeboy from Kenosha. I was going kind of all, and then apparently there's a rumor about Pat was muting the broadcast.
Not too sure about the mute part. More than likely, he did it. I'm sure Pat loves you, as we all. And yeah, I'd have to say that was the next best game, just because I believe Stevens Point was number one at the time. They were undefeated. It was our home court, and that might have been my first time ever beating them. I think I've lost to Stevens Point every time my freshman year, my sophomore year. That was my first victory against them.
I think it was because AJ's brother went to Stevens Point. I think one of his older brothers
Yep.
went to Stevens Point, so it was a big deal for him. Obviously Bennett coached that game. That added a little bit of a wrinkle to that.
Yeah, I think it was just meant to be. Bennett coming from Stevens Point, as he has so many ties there, and he just he had a great career there as well, and it just felt like that was the opportunity. Like, your backs were against the wall as far as they're number one, we're playing at home. I think we were top 10 as well at the time.
7. I think it was 7. But that
Yep,
was
yep.
like the most packed. Was that the most packed that you ever saw that gym?
It's close. I think during the tournament freshman year, it was pretty packed in there too. We had, people on the floor, a lot of fans on the floor. When they say cram catchel, that's exactly what it meant.
Okay. I definitely put that as my like third. I don't know what I put as like my I don't know. I wasn't at that Defiance game. I don't know if you put what you if that would be like that was the hardest loss, but it's not the hardest loss in terms of any whitewater sport. I think the Buffalo State game is the hardest loss.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our, own perspective on that. It's one of those games where, you have to mentally prepare, you have to be locked into the game plan, and it was just one of those games. It didn't feel like it was, meant to be. As we were out there, it was just it just felt so mellow and things just seemed so like slow motion, and it was just one of those games, and it kind of felt like it, you know, just throughout the game itself.
Yeah, and the Defiance team had what hit more threes than you guys in the regular season, or more threes than any of the WEAC teams.
Easily.
Yeah.
So I mean, they were hot that night. It's the hot hand. They luck just went their way that night. 9 times out of 10 we beat that team.
But still,
Unfortunately, that was the
still
one
though,
time.
you got 3 trips to Salem in your, if you count the All-Star game.
Yeah, that was a unique experience as well. I met some people, some good friends, some good competitors that I still talk to today. And so it's everything happens for a reason. I can't be mad about it. So we'll take that one on the chin.
All right, so obviously I'm gonna throw this one at you. Obviously, you were in the D League for a little bit, with Nick Van Exel as a coach. Obviously, what was it like to be kind of coached by the other great basketball player out of Kenosha? I don't know if he's like the best basketball player to come out of Kenosha. You'd be up there too, since you have the 2 national titles. But what was that like?
It was a very unique experience. One, I've had like a personal relationship with him as well for a while, and I actually still talk to him today. And it was cool, getting to know him more as a person, outside of basketball. We went to dinner a few times, and you know, it's just different seeing, him as a coach. I've always known him as a, the player development coach, assistant coach, but having him as a head coach, that was different, and it was cool because I got to see and learn different things of how he thinks. We're in practice, and he's telling us, do this, do that, because this is going to happen. This is what you do when this situation comes up, and it just grew my IQ as a player. Like just continuously learning the game from someone who's played at the highest level with some of the best players in the world ever. Like he played with Shaq and Kobe. Like I got to sit down and just talk to him about those experiences. Like he's played on, I want to say 9, 10 different teams. So he's seen a different, variety of players, coaches, and I just got to pick his brain for a good amount of time and just take that knowledge in and learn.
Did
So
you
when
get
I got there, I was just a student, man.
Okay. Did you guys ever talk about like Kenosha stuff?
Not so much. We talked a little bit about some Kenosha stuff, but it was more so, the task at hand, like what did I want out of it? What did I want to learn? Some of his experiences, why he, went this place, just relationship building, more like it.
Okay. Let's just kind of end with plug your podcast a little bit and say what it's about and who you've had on.
So pretty much, my podcast is called Elite Team Athletics. It's a podcast. We started it primarily with, sports interviews with different, athletes. And, now we're kind of venturing off to different parts of, the podcast world. So recently we just had an ex-NFL defensive back, CJ Smith. He was talking to us about, how to get started in real estate investing, how to house hack and travel hack. And then we do a lot of recap stuff. But I mean, we had Carson Walsh, who's now want to say a wide receivers coach. With the Eagles, he was. I think he's with the Browns now. We had Trey Waynes, Duncan Robinson, Troy Bell, former NBA player. Tyus Jones was a guest as well. I mean, we've had a lot of sports guys. We had some local friends as well. Michael Bruzewitz, he played at Wisconsin. With the legendary Pat Miller, he came on and blessed us with an episode, so that was very fun.
You had Melvin Gordon yet?
I have not. I look to get him on in the future. We'll see how that works. Also Darnell Harris, a former Warhawk as well. So Jordan Taylor, Katie Young. So we've had some people. It's cool. We're just looking forward to growing it and hopefully making something bigger out of it.
You gonna ever add I know I'm plugging some Whitewater here, Jake Kumaro, or um maybe something with all three of the Kumaros, or obviously Quinn Miners is in the NFL now.
Yeah, potentially. I did have them on my list of people to reach out to, so maybe we'll see if we can collaborate something and get an episode in with those.
All right, thanks, Q. Thanks for joining me, and go Hawks.
No problem. Appreciate you having me.
All right, cool. All right. Oh, all right, cool.